What if T'Challa were Star-Lord?
Star-Lord!
That was not the reaction I was expecting.
Let's talk about it. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler talk review for What If T'Challa Were Star-Lord, Episode 2 of What If. I'm curious, what did you think of this episode? Let's talk about that in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts, your views, and opinions, whether you thought this was a good episode or not. I thought overall this was a great episode, and I think I liked it better than the first episode. And got a real quick stop and say a huge thank you to 3 brand new patrons. Thank you, Phyllis Lehman, Judith Ellis, and Grace Chang. Thank you guys so much for jumping on board and supporting Durbania financially on Patreon. That means so much to me. Now, if you want to check out my Patreon page and support Durbania, there's different levels of giving with different levels of rewards. So you can check that out. Link is in the description.
Where you want to be? That's the question, isn't it?
So far, What If is proving to be a very interesting series. I love the animation, and it's very interesting taking these different looks at these characters. What if they took a different path? But it's interesting so far because even though we see these characters taking different paths, we still see these characters as themselves with their good hearts, and their good hearts taking different paths and impacting where they go. I mean, for instance, it was awesome to see Peggy become Captain Carter and to see her good heart amplified by that serum, the good in her amplified by that serum. But it was also really cool to see Steve Rogers still be a hero, to jump into that Iron Man suit and see the heart of a hero. And now we have T'Challa going out through the galaxy, and he really is, as they say in this episode, this bright star. And wherever he's at home, and he influences it for the positive. So it's very cool to see this hero take a different path with the same heart, and how that heart influences the path that he takes. Now, of course, it's just awesome to hear Chadwick Boseman again, to hear his voice again, to hear him playing T'Challa again, and it's one of the things that made this episode even better. And then they put that amazing dedication to him at the end where they called him their hero and their friend, and it was a very touching dedication to Chadwick Boseman at the end of this episode. So it was great to have his performance again. It was great to hear him as the voice of T'Challa, and to have this character just voiced with so much heart. And that's just what made it, I guess, all that much more powerful. It's because it's just so much heart in this role. And that's what I love. That's my favorite thing. And that's probably what I'm gonna dive into a lot as I talk about this episode, is just the heart that was in that character of T'Challa. Now, one of the funniest things that just cracked me up right from the beginning is the whole Guardians of the Galaxy setup. You know, where Peter Quill's going into that temple, he's about to take the orb with the Power Stone in it, and then I think you say his name, Korath, he shows up, and what was great was his reaction.
Star-Lord!
And it's funny because it's kind of like this double-edged sword moment for me, because I love Chris Pratt and I think he's great as Peter Quill. And I love that moment in the original movie where he goes, Star-Lord, and Korath is like, who?
Well, Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Forget it.
That was hilarious. But then here you have T'Challa step forward and he says Star-Lord, and then you just have Korath just freaking melt with praise. Like, this is a superstar. This is a true blue hero in front of him, and he's beyond excited and honored to meet this guy. He's so excited and honored that, like, when he finds out, okay, you're not hiring anymore, well, at least I get the honor to spar with you, right? And he's like so excited to even fight T'Challa. Like, it's this amazingly hilarious scene. And it's just funny because my wife and I were watching it this morning, and we just didn't expect that reaction. Of all the reactions, and just the fact that it was so intense, it just made it all the more hilarious. And then again, you got the heart of T'Challa. After he punches the thing that was protecting the orb, and Korath passes out with this great big smile on his face, so honored to actually battle T'Challa and lose a spar to him. T'Challa's like, well, I've hired worse, and picks him up and carries him out there. But it's just incredible. I loved that moment. It was hilarious. It cracked me up. It just kind of subverted the expectation in just the right way. The other great big huge expectation subversion was Thanos.
T'Challa here showed me there was more than one way to reallocate the universe's resources.
I just didn't expect Thanos in there at all. But to see him show up and be a good guy, converted by T'Challa, Not from some epic battle, but from his words. I mean, I think he even says in this sometimes the best weapon in your arsenal is a good argument. And he converts Thanos. So Thanos repents and turns from his plan, and the whole idea to snap and have half the universe dust out of existence at random kind of becomes this little running joke. Like, dude, come on.
That sounds an awful lot like genocide.
No, because it's random.
Like, it just becomes this goofy joke instead of this master plan that he accomplishes. And you know what? Even though they kind of made light of that, I liked good Thanos. And seeing good Thanos as kind of part of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I really did, it was just fun to see him in that role. And then what's interesting is you see how that affected Nebula. Like, you just see a complete change in her. I mean, she's not made up of so many parts. She's got long blonde hair, and she just is in a better headspace. And so here she comes to offer this plan where they begin their space heist. So it was a really good and interesting heist episode. I will say though, seeing Nebula in a much better place, it made me wonder, where's Gamora right now? What is she doing in this universe, and what does her life look like? I don't know that it's a weakness that it wasn't in this episode, because I don't know what this is building to. I don't know if we'll take different look backs at certain times and fill in those gaps. I'm not sure. And if there's a second season, is that something the second season's gonna do? Like, these are things I don't know, but I did find just watching this episode, I am very initially like, where is Gamora? What is going on in her life? What is she like? Very cool to see where Nebula is. So where is Gamora? I mean, come on, we even get Drax. He's a bartender at this place, living a good life, and his wife and daughter are alive because T'Challa saved them.
You saved my home world from a Kree invasion.
All in a day's work.
No, it took several days. 6, in fact.
It's very interesting to see T'Challa's effect in the universe. Now, again, I love Peter Quill, but it makes me kind of feel bad for him. In a way, you now go back to Guardians of the Galaxy, and it makes his world feel so much more messy, and you're like, ah, poor Peter. Like, it's awesome to watch him grow and change and become more and more of a leader, but then when you see T'Challa and just that effect that he has everywhere, I just go, oh, I feel so bad for Peter Quill's universe when he's the one who's actually taken. Oh my goodness. And it was interesting why they mistook T'Challa for the Star-Child. The Star-Lord, the one belonging to Ego, because of vibranium. Like, it was so off the Earth charts, they're like, oh, this has gotta be it. If there's anything alien on Earth, it's gotta be here. And that makes sense to me. So it was kind of interesting that that was the thing that threw off those Ravagers as they were sent by Yondu, and Yondu didn't come himself. So those tiny little minor choices, those little minor changes shifted an entire universe. Now, the other thing was interesting was the Collector. To see the Collector rise to such prominence and power, because Thanos goes straight. And when Thanos goes straight, it creates a power vacuum. Vacuums want to be filled. And so you have the Collector who fills that vacuum. So it was kind of interesting to see that. Like, he's much bigger, stronger, buffer. He's got so many tools and weapons. It's incredibly interesting to take a look, but what's the most interesting is when he's fighting T'Challa at the end, he calls down that crate, and when it opens, inside the crate, you have Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, and then he's got Hela's hat. We gotta rewind here. What movies did I miss? What is going on in this universe? Like, seriously, at bare minimum, you could pull an incredible trilogy of movies out of this. How did the Collector collect Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, and Hela's hat, whatever that's called? Somebody's gonna get mad at me in the comments for calling it a hat. I apologize. But the thing, anyway, that was all incredibly interesting, and all these interesting little Easter eggs. I mean, come on, when T'Challa finds his Wakandan ship in the background, there's all kinds of ships there that are all kinds of Easter eggs. The one that prominently stood out to me is Jeff Goldblum's ship from Thor Ragnarok. So it's like, wow, the whole galaxy literally changed because Yondu made a different choice, the Ravagers found the wrong kid, and T'Challa was out there in space. And it's interesting that he decided to be Robin Hood, robbing from the powerful to give to the powerless. Like, his goal with that Infinity Stone, the Power Stone, would be to jumpstart a dying star to save an entire world. The whole heist that they're going for is this thing called the Genesis plant. I think I got that right, but it could terraform a whole world and feed the hungry. But what's interesting is it's this plant that brings healing wherever it goes. And if you look at it, that's T'Challa. The whole character arc that he has, I think the thing this episode really emphasized is wherever he went, he brought healing. And I think that was my favorite part, because I looked at that and I saw a picture of what followers of Jesus should be in the world. Wherever T'Challa was, he shined brightly. And in shining brightly, he changed his environment. He won Thanos over. That's a movie I want to see. He really changed the galaxy because, as Yondu said at the end, wherever he went, whatever world, whatever people was there, he was at home. So wherever he went, he was salt and light. Like, he really did shine brightly. And they were attracted to that light. I mean, that's why Korath loved him. He was attracted to that light. Now, in the show The Chosen, the season 2 finale, Jesus said it best right here.
Salt preserves meat from corruption. I want my followers to be a people who hold back the evil of the world. Salt also enhances the flavor of things. I want my followers to renew the world. Salt can also be mixed with honey and rubbed on the skin for maladies. I want my people to participate in the healing of the world.
That explanation of salt and what it means to be salt is actually what I saw illustrated in the character of T'Challa. So I thought that was really cool to get that look and see what T'Challa was to the galaxy and the impact that he had on it. The other thing that I thought was also nice about that is he found the truth. So Yondu lied to him. Yondu lied and said that Wakanda was destroyed. I went to return you, but Wakanda is gone and destroyed. And he believed it, because isn't that what T'Challa's dad had said to him? That outside of Wakanda, the world was full of war, so he found that believable. But when he found the Wakanda ship, saw that message from his dad, and found the truth, he was mad at Yondu. He even had that moment where he yelled at the Ravagers, "You are not my family," but there was also quick forgiveness on both sides. Probably part of that being it's a 30-minute episode, so there's not a ton of time to dive into that, and that might be considered a negative because there were some pretty powerful emotional beats in this, and because it's a 30-minute episode and not a 2-hour movie, yes, there's not a ton of time to really get into that, to explore how these things affect these characters, so they move fast. But there was that part of me that liked it moving fast instead of lingering on that and seeing quick forgiveness on both sides. So there's a lot of things that I found really interesting in this whole episode. So I'm very curious, what did you think of this episode? These are just my highlights, and these were the things that really stood out to me. What are your highlights? What did I forget to talk about that maybe really stood out to you? I want to have that conversation with you in the comments. Also, be sure to check out my video on Captain Carter, the first episode of What If. I have that up. You can definitely check out my thoughts on that episode. And if you thought that little clip of The Chosen was interesting, I have a whole series reviewing that show, and you could definitely dive more into that and see more about what that show is. So you can definitely check out the Chosen playlist. You can definitely check out my What If review and all this great stuff I have up here on my channel. Hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for the very next time I drop a Marvel review, a movie review, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.